Hello and welcome to my channel Happy Hours. In the last video, we had a discussion about some of the keywords of the preamble, like sovereignty and socialism, where we have discussed about the Karl Marx views also. Today, we are going to proceed further with the socialism in Indian context. We are going to discuss about the different dimensions of Indian socialism. So, since we are having a mixed economy, so we have to have the democratic socialism, or we can say Fabian socialism, which means socialism to be achieved through democratic means, that is, through the parliamentary laws. We adopted the model of Fabian socialism. Example: abolition of zamindari pratha, nationality of banks by adding the ninth schedule. What was the objective? The objective was to establish a welfare state, a socialistic pattern of the society, to fill the gap in between the have and the have not. And the inequalities are of two types. One is the man-made, which is region based, caste based, sex based, color, and then other things. And one is natural inequality, means when you are born weak, you're having the capacity of working hard, or you are very intellectual, or someone is very rich, or someone is very poor. So we are going to reduce by this we are going to reduce the gap in between these two things, the man-made uh, inequality. Now we are going to proceed further and going to discuss one question, like analyze the role of the state in the era of liberalization. Has the role of the state in India declined in the era of liberalization? It is very important question. When India entered the era of liberalization in 1991, there was a general perception that the role of the state was going to decline in the era of liberalization. That is, the state will play the negligible role in the future. There has been observed the following phenomena in the era of liberalization. First one is the uneven development. There has emerged two corridors, one blue corridor and the second one is the red corridor. The blue corridor is the corridor where the more development is seen, and the red corridor where no development or very less development was seen. The blue corridor refers to those areas where the investment is going to take place, like Mumbai Pune belt, Chennai Bengaluru belt, NCR, parts of the Gujarat, Rajasthan, Odisha, etc. On the other hand, the red corridor refers to the conflicted areas like Jammu and Kashmir, Nagaland, Manipur, etc., and the Naxal affected areas of some states like Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, etc., where the investment is negligible. There has been development in the blue corridor and the lack of development in the red corridor areas. The role of the state rests in initiating the development of those areas which have not been benefited. That is where the investment has taken place. Now the second point is welfareism. Welfareism is an important in the era of liberalization as it was in the pre-liberalization, as the problem like unemployment, poverty, hunger, disease, environmental pollution, etc., still exist. The policies and the programs of the government, like MGNREGA, which stands for Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, NRHM, National Rural Health Mission, SSA, Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, SBA, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Ayushman Bharat, etc., are the steps towards welfareism. The government has also involved the private sector in the welfare activities through the PPP model, public private partnership. The Act has made corporate social responsibility mandatory. Protection of the interest of the workers and the consumers through the labor legislations and the Consumer Protection Acts. So the role of the state is increasing day by day due to the increase in the challenges due to liberalization. So we can say that no, the state is not going to lie like that, and it is going to work more due to the challenges it is going to face. Now we are going to discuss about the next topic is secularism. Religious literalism or the part of the state. The state is not based on one particular religion and is going to give equal respect to all the religions. No, the state shall not concern itself with religious beliefs, practices, and the institutions, and it should not be associated with a particular religion. It shall permit free of conscience, beliefs, and religion for all its individuals. The state shall not discriminate between the citizens or the basis on the basis of their religious belief. And this is all are the Western concept of secularism. Such an understanding of secularism come to us from the history of Western Europe, where the dominion of state policy and that of religion was separated. In the words of one of the American presidents, Thomas Jefferson, a wall of separation exists between the state and religion. So the state is not going to interfere in between the religion activities and vice versa. Now we are going to discuss about the dimensions of Indian secularism. So in the Indian secularism, there are two views. One is Gandhian view and the other is Nehruvian view. According to Gandhian view, Sarvdharm Sambhav means coexistence of all the religions. Whereas in Nehruvian view, a scholar state carries three meanings. First, freedom of religion or irreligion for all. The state of honor of all the religious equally. The state shall not be attached to a particular religion or faith, which by that act may become the state religion. Now, some of the scholars hold the view that in the Indian context, secularism is not only the recognition of faith but also equal treatment to all the faiths. So, there are different views about the secularism in India. Now, we are having a legal dimensions of Indian secularism also. For that, we are having some acts like Act number 15 prohibit prohibits the state from discriminating among the citizens on the ground of religion along with other grounds. And the article number 16 prohibits the state from discriminating among the citizens in the public employment on the ground of religion along with some other grounds. From the article number 25 to 28 provide for freedom of religion to all as fundamental right. And the last article is article number 326 provides for the right to vote to all the citizens without discrimination, which is also known as universal adult suffrage. Means whoever is going to attain the age of 18 or more, they are allowed to vote. So we can say we are having the positive secularism. The state has to interfere in the positive way whenever there is a that means like for the health for restrict there should be some restrictions like when the dahi handi height is also fixed. Social reforms can be initiated when there is a Kavar Yatra. Camps are being held, and there they can provide food and medicines. And we can see the Hajj Bhavans also during the Hajj Yatra, and there is a Waqf board also for their security of their property. So there is not complete divorce between the state and religion in India. So this is the concept of positive secularism in India. Now we are going to discuss about some of the debate about the secularism in India. There is a difference of opinion among the scholars with respect to secularism in India. Some scholars hold the view that India is secular state. Such scholars have taken into consideration the constitutional provisions with respect to secularism. Some scholars hold the view that India is not a truly secular state. Some of the scholars have gone to the extent of terming India as pseudo-secular state. Such scholars have put forward the following arguments in the support of their view. And the first is communal violences. Communal violence always taking place in our country on the regular intervals. And the second opinion is about after effects of the Shahbano case. It is very important case, which started in the 1978 in Madhya Pradesh and concluded in 1985, where the woman Shahbano was not granted the maintenance from her husband, but the judge in the in the Supreme Court, she won the case and she got the maintenance. And this is known as the victory of secularism in the judgment. But they are not thinking is as a victory of secularism in the in the judgment. They are saying that after that many things happens. So it is the after effect of the Shahbano case. Means when this thing happened, many things changes in the society. Why they have reacted so differently. Now the third case is demolition of Babri Masjid. It is a dark day in the history of Indian secularism. It happened in the year 1992 on 16 December when a religious structure was demolished in the broad daylight in the presence of state police and paramilitary. Now these all are the views in the support of the people who said that our country is pseudo secular or our country is not truly secular. This is their opinion. And some scholar has the view that in order to be a meaningful secular country, we should have tolerance. If you are going to tolerate, then the secularism can be maintained. Now, for that tolerant to the views, customs, faith, etc. There should be respect towards each other, each religion. This can be achieved through education. Now, the most important thing is education. If the person is educated, they can understand that yes, each culture and religion should be respected. Since the war begins in the minds of the men, it is the minds of the men that needs to be changed. Means if you are educated, you will be having the understanding of religion, you will be having the understanding of respect, then you are not going to have a war. The second very important reason why we are having a war, or we can say why we are having a communal violence, is because of the economic reason. If the person is not economically well settled, then there is a rise in the communalism in the society, because the person who is not having money, they are ready to do anything. Now, empty stomach can be prone to any antisocial activity. They are ready to do any stole pelting and all. They are not the educated people who can do these things, and they are not the person. If the person who are having money, they are having they are only very prone. They are ready to do anything. That's why we need good education. Now we are having another question. Why what France can learn from Indian secularism? You might have come to an incident where they have banned on burqa, a turban, and many things in their society, even in the outside. And this should not be done. We should give respect to all the religion, and we should respect all the culture. So this is what they can learn from our country. Now, whenever there is a case in the Supreme Court, especially regarding like whether you can have the triple talaq and hijab. This all was a current issue. When what the Supreme Court do is they use the doctrine of essentiality. They observe it on the religious matter. Whenever there is a religious matter, they are checking whether it is the essence of the religion or not. Like when there was a hijab controversy, they just said that this is not the essence of the Quran, so it is not essential to wear the hijab. Especially you can see when there is a uniform in the school. Suppose you are going to a school and they are having a particular kind of uniform. So in that school you cannot have the hijab or any other kurta or something like that. It's not like only they are going to ask for the hijab. It's like kurta and other things are also not be allowed. They should wear the uniform in their school for the uniformity. And the second thing, the national security. Suppose you are going to the airport and you are not ready to show your face in the kurta or in the hijab. So it is not possible. It is a case of impersonation. So in the examination also, even in the voting also, you have to show your face that yes, this is the person who is going coming to write the examination or the person who is going to vote. So by this we conclude our session today, that Supreme, how the Supreme Court is taking the decision in the very religious matters, and how they are taking their decision with the help of doctrine of essentiality, whether it is the essence of the religion or not. So by this I'm concluding, and I'm going to take the other session on the other day. Thank you. Bye bye.